Hey Mary, sorry to bug you at work. What's up? I couldn't catch you yesterday because you were pretty elusive, so I thought I'd track you down. Nicole pointed you out to me. You probably already know, but I'm seeing John. I'm Mary, 35, a nurse at the biggest hospital around. Mom of 2 boys, ages 3 and 5, and John's my hubby. He's 5 years my senior and works as a doc at a nearby clinic. He used to be at the hospital, but with the kids, he switched to a clinic with no night shifts. I could easily lay off work with John's job, but house chores don't quite suit me, so here I am, juggling nursing and parenting. Crazy, right? Up early, sorting lunches, breakfast, laundry, dropping kids off, and then off to work. But hey, I prefer it this way. John, on the flip side, strolls into the clinic at 9, so he's a late riser. By the time he's up, we're out the door. He wraps up his clinic duties and heads home around 9 in the evening. By then, I'm beat, having handled dinners, baths, bedtime routines, you name it. But I still manage to whip up dinner for John. Not that I mind really. He's not much help around the house, but it's better that way. If he tried, I'd probably redo everything. Thanks for dinner, Mary. It was delicious as always. He always says that, and it warms my heart. How about a trip to the zoo this Sunday? Sounds fantastic. The kids will be thrilled. On his days off, he takes them out, being the cool dad. At the zoo last Sunday, the kids were ecstatic, running around like mad. Seeing them happy makes me happy. That's what it's all about, right? Here you go, Mary. Huh? He hands me a cute cell phone charm with a blue penguin on it. It matches the one on his phone. Then he shows me his phone, and there it is, the matching charm. I blushed a bit, feeling like we were back in high school, but it warmed my heart nonetheless. Thanks. It's a tad embarrassing, but I'm happy, I replied. You know, penguins are pretty loyal creatures. Some spend their whole lives with the same partner, John remarked, making me chuckle. I couldn't help but think perhaps we'd be like those penguins, sticking together through thick and thin, but who knows what the future holds. One day, I managed to leave work on time and rushed out of the hospital's bike parking lot, headed for the daycare. Are you Mary? An unfamiliar young woman approached me. Yes, that's me, I confirmed, curious. She introduced herself as Nicole, expressing her gratitude for John's support. Her sudden appearance caught me off guard. She was strikingly beautiful with long hair, not someone I knew well. Are you here for a checkup today? I asked, puzzled. No, just passing by. Sorry if I startled you, Nicole explained before leaving. Her presence left me uneasy. What could she possibly want in the bike parking lot, meant only for hospital staff? That evening, I asked John about Nicole's visit. A woman named Nicole greeted you today at the hospital. Who is she? I inquired. Huh. She's a nurse at my clinic. I'll ask her next time, John replied, seeming surprised. His eagerness to end the conversation left me feeling distrustful. I encountered Nicole again about 2 weeks later, this time outside our house. It was when the daycare called, informing me that our eldest son had a fever and needed to be picked up. As I biked home with the kids, I spotted a figure waiting in front of our house. I immediately hit the brakes, pulling my bike to the side of the road. Though they were a bit distant, I could unmistakably recognize John and Nicole. I dialed John's number just to confirm. Hey Mary, what's up? I'm pretty swamped at work right now, he answered, even though he was clearly standing in front of our house. I'm sorry, our eldest son has a fever, so I'm heading home. Thought I'd let you know, I explained. Got it. I'll try to wrap up early today, he replied before hanging up. The 2 figures in front of our house then headed toward the clinic. I waited for a while before heading home. Luckily, despite the fever, my son seemed to be in good spirits, so there wasn't much cause for concern. But as they say, it's better to be vigilant. After ensuring he was settled with his favorite cartoon and some snacks, I took a moment to collect myself. The image of John and Nicole kept haunting me. I didn't want to entertain doubts, yet the suspicion of infidelity crept in, and I found myself gripping the penguin charm on my cell phone, as if seeking reassurance. In the evening, as promised, John rushed home and showed genuine concern for our son. He was such a devoted family man. Surely he couldn't be having an affair. At least, that's what I desperately wanted to believe. Mary, is something wrong? Did you notice something when you came home this afternoon? John asked, his demeanor uneasy. No, nothing. It just seemed like the chair was in a different position, I replied, feeling my suspicions growing stronger in the face of John's evident discomfort. I thought maybe you came home for lunch. No, I didn't come home. Maybe it's just your imagination, John chuckled, quickly diverting his attention to the newspaper. Just my imagination, huh? I let it slide for the moment but went to bed with an uneasy feeling, our conversation lingering in the air. The next day, our son's fever had subsided, so I dropped him off at daycare and returned to work. While busy at my job, the head nurse informed me of a visitor. Wondering who it could be, I headed to the designated lobby and found Nicole waiting there. "Hello, Mary. Sorry for interrupting you at work," she greeted me. "What can I do for you? I saw you hiding yesterday and thought I should say hi, so here I am," Nicole explained. I noticed her change in tone from our first meeting, now irritatingly flirtatious. Despite clearly being over 20, the way she spoke in public was rather off-putting. "John doesn't like older women like you. He said he prefers young girls like me, so I was thinking it's probably best if you step aside. You get what I'm saying, right?" "Not really," I replied, puzzled. "John and I are dating. You get it now. Look, here's the evidence," Nicole declared, opening her smartphone to show me a picture of them together in a hotel room, both wearing robes and looking content. Was his recent business trip a lie? Seeing my stern expression, Nicole smirked with satisfaction. "Now you get it, right? Hurry up and get a divorce, old lady." Having said what she came to say, she cheerfully left the hospital, seemingly content with herself. I felt as though a decision was being pushed upon me, yet I had already resolved myself to it. There was no room for doubt. It was merely a matter of the moment arriving sooner than expected. Taking swift action, I informed the head nurse that I was feeling unwell and left work early, also requesting leave for the following day. Though she seemed puzzled by my sudden uplifted spirits, I managed to secure her approval and promptly headed towards my destination. The confrontation was set for tomorrow. The next day, I found myself seated in the director's office of the clinic where John worked, with my father, who also happened to be the director, sitting across from me. He scrutinized the photos and documents I had laid out on the desk, his expression grave. Yes, from the moment I first met Nicole, I had enlisted the services of a detective agency to investigate John's infidelity, aiming to dispel the unease I had been feeling. Fortunately, I had the means to do so. Regardless of the outcome, I viewed it as an investment in securing a positive future for my family and had commissioned a month-long investigation. Despite Nicole's limited contact, the evidence gathered over the past 2 weeks was damning. It revealed that she had accompanied John on his recent business trip, sharing the same room. Furthermore, even in their daily lives, they spent considerable time together. They had been meeting almost every day during the breaks between John's consultations, even at our own home. My father's expression soured, but he lifted his gaze with a determined look. "Mary, what do you want to do? Consider the children and weigh your decision carefully," he urged. "I'm filing for divorce," I replied resolutely. I empathized with my father's plight, but my resolve remained unshaken. As I delivered my decision, he sighed, asking for a moment before dialing John's extension on the internal phone. After a brief interval, John, oblivious to the situation, entered with a smile upon seeing me. "Mary, you're here. Are you off work today?" His smile faded as he noticed the spread of photos on the table, his face draining of color with each passing second. What is this?" he stammered, his eyes fixed on the incriminating evidence before him. "John, you've been having an affair with Nicole. With this much evidence, denial isn't an option. We're getting a divorce?" I stated firmly. "A divorce? Why? This was just a fling. What I value is you and our family," John protested, his voice tinged with desperation. "Nicole came to disrupt my work, claiming you weren't interested in older women like me," I countered. "That's not true. You're beautiful and you're not old," John interjected, bewildered. My father promptly called for Nicole, startling her. "Doctor, you call for me." Nicole entered, visibly pleased to be personally summoned by the director, though her expression faltered upon noticing the tense atmosphere. "Nicole, could you explain these pictures?" my father inquired, gesturing towards the evidence on the table. Nicole's brows furrowed momentarily before she composed herself, wearing a smug smirk. "I apologize, doctor. John and I are dating. Of course, I know about Mary, but I could support him as a housewife. This way, he can concentrate on his work and be a devoted father," Nicole declared confidently, seemingly mistaking my father for John's own. "John, visibly shaken, appeared at a loss for words while my father turned to me with a solemn inquiry. Mary, have you decided to break up with John? I'll ensure you're compensated and will take good care of the children, so please don't worry. I couldn't help but chuckle at Nicole's dramatic speech, though she didn't seem amused. Instead, she appeared slightly irritated. It's not severance pay, it's alimony. And since I'll be the one raising the kids, I'll need child support from John, I clarified matter-of-factly. Well, that can't be helped, but I'm glad you agreed to the divorce. Now I can be with John, Nicole continued, seemingly on a roll. Stop it, John muttered under his breath, but Nicole, caught up in her momentum, didn't seem to hear him. Well then, as soon as you're ready, could you leave the house? Nicole's words were abruptly halted as John grabbed her shoulder to silence her. Her surprised gaze met his, and John spoke up. Nicole, I'm sorry, it was just a fling. My family is important to me, and I can't be with you, he confessed, causing color to drain from Nicole's face. Why? You told me you were divorcing her to marry me. You said you'd make me the wife of the future director, and I believed you. I don't understand, Nicole protested, her confusion evident. You told me you're not into older women like her. You said how lonely you are with her, always at work and not at home, she continued, her tone pleading. It felt like I was witnessing a messy breakup unfolding before my eyes, and my impatience began to grow. That's enough. I'm filing for divorce from John. I'll be seeking alimony from both of you, and John, you'll need to pay child support too. That's all, I declared, attempting to conclude the conversation. My father, understanding my temperament, chuckled and interjected, well, since my daughter said her piece. Wait, did you just say your daughter? John interrupted, visibly stunned. Yes, Mary is my child and John is my son-in-law, my father clarified, causing Nicole to panic. What happens if he's no longer the heir? Can't he live in that big house anymore? Nicole panicked, realizing the implications. Mary, I'm truly sorry. John suddenly fell to his knees, bowing deeply to me. Nicole, now realizing she was nothing more than a fling, was left stunned. I can't ask for your forgiveness, but could you possibly give me another chance? John's desperate bowing likely stemmed from the fear of losing his job. However, no matter how deeply he bowed, I couldn't find it in me to forgive him. Besides the affair, there was another reason why forgiving John was impossible for me. That's impossible. Do you recognize this? I pulled out my cell phone and showed him the blue penguin charm. John's face paled, confirming his guilt. Yesterday, when John showed me the photo at the hospital, I had been elated. We had matching charms, and he had shared with me the significance of penguins mating for life. I cherished the blue penguin charm he had given me, but now I noticed something crucial. Nicole also had the light blue charm on her phone. Yes, Nicole confirmed. John bought it for me. Admitting defeat, John confessed to buying it. That's why it's impossible. We should break up. Nicole has the exact same one, not just a different color. That tells me enough about your feelings. I can't forgive you, no matter what. Please, Mary, John pleaded, but my father intervened, expressing his outrage at John's betrayal and Nicole's disruption of clinic discipline. As a clinic director, I must punish both of you, my father declared. Be prepared for that. I'm so sorry, but please let me keep my job, John pleaded. We'll go through lawyers from now on. You both can leave for today, and from tomorrow, you'll be on paid leave. You don't have to come to work. Wait, I don't understand, I interjected. John, you're a doctor. Can't you work elsewhere? Quit this small clinic and let's start over. Please, Nicole, let's break up, John added. I never imagined losing my family or happiness. Are you freaking serious? You deceived me. I lashed out, my father intervening to silence the bickering between John and Nicole. Despite John's past insistence that family was paramount, his actions have betrayed us. The thought of returning to the house where John and Nicole had apparently spent every day together filled me with dread. So, I requested to stay with my parents for a while, taking my children with me. Arriving at their house, a sense of relief washed over me. Exhaustion consumed me, and I fell into a deep sleep, only to awaken in pitch darkness. Startled, I checked the clock, realizing it was midnight. My cell phone was illuminated with numerous missed calls and text messages from John. I couldn't bear to hear his voice, so I read through his apologies and excuses for the affair. Among them, I found a plea for my father's intervention, claiming remorse. A cynical laugh escaped me. It seemed John's remorse was more about securing his position at the clinic. Fury and pity overwhelmed me, leading me to forcefully tear off the penguin charm from my cell phone and discard it. A wave of sadness engulfed me, tears flowing freely even in the dead of night. My mother, awakened by my sobs, offered her comforting presence, staying by my side throughout the night. Family's warmth enveloped me, and as I yearned to build a family like this, my tears continued to flow. The next morning, I awoke feeling lighter. Though my mother expressed concern, I've always been one to bounce back quickly. I had completely cut off all emotional ties with John. That very day, I met with a lawyer introduced by my father and swiftly arranged for alimony and child support. I left the rest to the lawyer and resumed my daily life. It took longer than expected, but eventually, the lawyer informed me that the divorce was finalized. John had put up a fight, unwilling to let go of both the marriage and the clinic. However, he eventually agreed to a settlement after realizing he had little chance of winning in court. Once the divorce was finalized, Nicole and her parents discovered the news and pressured John into marrying her, citing our child. I had demanded substantial alimony, and John was left with almost no money after paying the lump sum for child support. Nicole was furious at the turn of events, neglecting housework, which led to constant arguments between them. The lawyer kept me informed of these developments. Moreover, although my father now ran a small clinic, he had a vast network from his previous role as a department head at a large hospital. News of John's situation spread quickly in the area, making it challenging for him to find employment as a doctor elsewhere. Whether he would leave town or find a different job was of little concern to me now. My father decided to rent out our former house to someone he knew, respecting my desire not to return there. I resolved to build a new home for my family of 3 with my own finances. Until then, I planned to stay at my parents' house to care for my children. Despite my young age, I jokingly mentioned to my parents that I wondered if there might be someone else out there for me. They laughed, teasing me about my impatience. My name is Luda Okojima. I'm 29 and work for a big international company. I grew up in the United States until I was 18. My dad is Japanese and my mom is white. He's the boss at the company where I work. I learned 5 languages when I was very young, thanks to tutoring. Now I'm in charge of the company's operations in Japan, all thanks to my dad's support and the education he gave me. I followed my mom's beliefs and agreed to an arranged marriage. My husband, Akinari, is 6 years older than me. Love wasn't what brought us together. As we started living together, I noticed things that bothered him. The laundry needs washing. We only talk about basic stuff because of our situation. I've been swamped with work emails this week, sorry. That's not an excuse, Han. Lots of wives work and still manage their homes. He was firm about our roles. I work hard, but living together is new to me. I was doing my best to adapt. You're just standing there drinking coffee. How does that help? Drinking coffee helps me wake up and get ready for the day. It's my routine. Mind your own business. Akinari has always been like this since we got married. Maybe he doesn't really love me. He often reminds me that I was homeschooled, so I should be good at housework. Okay, yes, I can handle the housework. You knew that from the beginning. You're so focused on yourself, even though you didn't have a proper education. This household functions because of me. Remember that. We lived in a 4-bedroom house. It was Akinari's dream to own a home, so we took out a loan and got approved. It wasn't something I cared much about, but he made it seem like a manly achievement I wouldn't understand. We never really talked much about our jobs. Education isn't everything, I said simply. Are you testing me? You're belittling my education. According to you, the husband should be the main provider, and the wife should silently follow. Plus, you have a strong accent. People can barely understand you here. We're in Japan. He criticized me for everything. I grew up in the US, so my Japanese won't sound perfect. My mom helped me with pronunciation, but I speak 5 languages. I won't sound like a native Japanese because I'm not. He didn't know this, so he assumed I was unintelligent. I'm going to do the laundry. I'm off today, and Akinari will be leaving for work soon. He's a big germaphobe and always tells me you must bleach the toilet seat after every use. He washed me closely to ensure I cleaned everything after each use. When we moved in together, I used to wear shoes indoors, which is normal in America. Are you white or Japanese? Stop being gross like everyone in America. Take off your shoes, he snapped. In my mind, I thought, I am white. Half white. He was obsessed with cleanliness, always armed with hand sanitizer wipes and disinfectant. At home, he made me feel like I was the messiest person alive. Sorry for the germs, I'd say, wiping things down daily. Honestly, it got annoying. As I loaded the washer, I thought I heard him call, so I went to see what he needed. "Did you call me?" He snapped back. "I did, but you took forever to come. You're just testing my patience." "I couldn't hear you. I was doing laundry, and the machine is loud," I explained honestly. "You couldn't hear over the washer? Are you deaf? You're pathetic. That's why people without degrees never achieve anything." My husband loved reminding me of my background. I couldn't finish my degree in the US because my father changed jobs. When we moved to Japan, I had to get a degree to work. I passed the entrance exam at a community college known for failures and dropouts. My husband graduated from the University of Tokyo. Coming from America, I didn't realize how prestigious that was until after we got married. But to me, a person's value goes beyond their degree. Is it really such a big deal that I graduated from a community college? What about all the other people in Japan who did too? Do you think less of them as well? I started questioning his values. What's the problem with being a community college graduate? There are many talented people in the world, no matter where they studied. In my company, there are even some who only finished high school, and they're doing great. I don't understand why he's so focused on appearances. In Japan, education is important, but doesn't everyone deserve respect regardless of their education level? I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Oh, so you went to the University of Tokyo, right? Isn't that like the top-notch education? The University of Tokyo? Ha, it's impressive. It's almost funny because you don't even grasp how amazing it is. I'm embarrassed I married someone not as smart as me. If it wasn't for our moms knowing each other, I wouldn't have gone through with this marriage. You don't deserve someone like me. He often talks about himself and points out what I lack compared to him. He enjoys making me feel inferior. In my opinion, people like him shouldn't be the most successful at their jobs. But strangely, his education seemed enough for him to succeed, even though I couldn't relate. I said, "I get it. Someone like me doesn't deserve someone as smart as you." Whatever. Just listen to me. I went to the University of Tokyo, so I'll guide you. Just don't try to do things on your own. He's got a big ego and always wants to be in charge. I can't even slightly disagree with him because he always has to have the final word. Okay, time to head to work. Akinari grabbed his suitcase, leaving his coffee half finished, and dashed out the door. I glanced at the table and started tidying up. Isn't this table clean enough? I muttered to myself. 3 hours after he left for work, I got a call. Hello? What? With a subcontractor? Got it. I'll be there ASAP. My company informed me about a mistake found in an order with one of the subcontractors I oversee. They failed to deliver the materials we needed on time for our next project, which would now be delayed. To make matters worse, the materials are coming from overseas, adding extra time and cost. It was supposed to be my day off, but work couldn't wait. When I arrived, everyone was busy, and I immediately met with the team to assess the situation. I reviewed invoices and prioritized materials for the building starting construction soon. I managed a plan for the construction to start next week, but I knew the issue wasn't resolved yet. If the additional materials didn't arrive on time, it would affect future projects too. Normally, the subcontractor would handle such issues, but this time it fell on me. After a tiring day, I finally returned home from work, expecting a relaxing day off. I collapsed into bed and quickly fell asleep. Luda, I heard my name and stirred awake. I'm sorry, I must have dozed off, I said, though I wasn't truly apologetic. Still, Akinari was quick to judge. You're so privileged. You have a day off and can't even cook dinner for your husband. Instead, you sleep. He was already starting with the criticism, even though I had just woken up. I'm sorry, I had to go to work. There was an urgent situation, I explained, but he retorted, what kind of company calls its employees on their day off? I had a tough day too, you know. He always wanted his problems to take precedence. Perhaps he couldn't handle the idea of his wife being a better employee. It might have been his ego stemming from his prestigious alma mater, the University of Tokyo. Knowing his patterns by now, I tuned him out. Wait, it's 8 o'clock. I glanced at the clock and gasped. I've been asleep for 5 hours since I got home from work. The laundry I started this morning is still in the washer, and I haven't even made dinner. Suddenly, all the tasks I needed to do hit me at once. What are you waiting for? Make dinner first, then clean the tub. After that, do the laundry and the rest of the cleaning. There was a piece of your hair on the floor. It's filthy. His anger hadn't subsided, especially since I had fallen asleep. He never lifted a finger to help around the house since we got married, and he wasn't about to start now. He dictated my tasks and strolled into the living room. I hurried out of bed, washed my face, and started cooking dinner. Just as dinner was almost ready, Akinari's phone rang. It's me. It's happening again. Just stay quiet for now. Don't say a word. If they find out, we could be sued, and I'll bear the brunt of it. Be careful, he said, then abruptly ended the call. Who was that? Work? Did you mention something about being sued? Is there something going on? I already had a sense that something was going on after overhearing his conversation, but he refused to acknowledge it. Please just relax. It's not your concern. Besides, even if there was an issue, your small mind wouldn't be able to handle it, he retorted, hitting me with an unexpected insult. I seethed with anger, but focused on getting through dinner without responding. I'm heading to the office, he suddenly declared, swiftly grabbing his phone and wallet. Before I could question him, he was out the door. I noticed he'd left his suitcase behind, and a file protruded from it. What's this? As I examined the file, labeled Okadera Mountain Resort Hotel Construction Plan Details, shock shot through me. I quickly snapped a photo with my phone as evidence before carefully returning everything to its place. By the time Akinari returned just before midnight, I was seething. I heard him announce his arrival and head toward the living room. Welcome back, I greeted him. I need dinner first, he demanded. I simply replied, I didn't make any. What? What did you say? You didn't cook? He raised his voice. Yes, I had something more important to attend to, I retorted. You're making excuses again. How much incompetence can one tolerate? That's why I can't stand you, with your community college background. I don't even care if we get a divorce at this point, he declared, his tone deadly serious. He was a staunch believer in patriarchal control, always insisting on having his way. I finally reached my breaking point and snapped back, fine, let's get a divorce. He was taken aback by my response. Divorce? What? He asked, bewildered. I pressed on. You've been belittling me, making me feel unintelligent, but that's far from the truth. My words struck a nerve, leaving him puzzled. What do you mean? He questioned. I haven't mentioned it because I don't care about school. But I actually attended Harvard University, I revealed. Harvard? Do you even know what Harvard is? His shock was evident. Oh, didn't your mother tell you? I was born and raised in the US. I lived there until I was 18, I explained. You? What? Are you serious? Akinari looked pained. His ego took a hit. He had been proud of his degree from Japan's top university, but this revelation reminded him of even more prestigious institutions. You're joking. There's no way I believe that, he scoffed, growing disrespectful. Are you feeling offended? You seem to resort to inappropriate remarks when you're caught off guard. I guess the University of Tokyo isn't as prestigious as you thought, I said, surprised by my own assertiveness. My feelings aren't hurt. I just need proof. Show me the evidence, he insisted, needing tangible proof to believe my claim. So I showed him a photo from my freshman year orientation. Can you read English? The sign clearly says Harvard Unit. I pointed out. Don't mock me. I can read that, he retorted, scrutinizing the photo himself. Do you believe me now? Why did you hide this from me? If I had known, I wouldn't have married you, he remarked, his ego clearly wounded. Was it necessary to feel superior to your wife? I challenged. And no, my mom never mentioned it. And what do you mean you didn't care? It's like you weren't interested in me at all, he deflected, playing the victim. Isn't it wrong to judge people based on their education? Despite appearances, I can speak 5 languages: English, Japanese, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. How many can you speak? Being a University of Tokyo graduate, what does intelligence mean to you? What's so impressive about your alma mater? I taunted, watching him squirm. 5 languages, really? Then why did you attend that community college? It's like you did it to deceive me, and don't even try. My superiority stems from attending the University of Tokyo, he stubbornly asserted. Clearly, his alma mater held immense significance and prestige in his eyes. I pressed on, sensing his frustration. Judging people solely based on their educational background is narrow-minded. True value lies in someone's ability to excel regardless of where they studied. That's why I hold a high position in my company, I stated, watching him struggle to process my words. Until now, he had always believed himself to be superior to me. It seemed this revelation shifted his perspective. Never mind, I need to discuss something more urgent, I interjected, steering the conversation back to the main issue. While I knew it was leading towards discussing divorce plans, there was another matter I had to address first. Akinari was taken aback, wondering what else I had to say. Handing him the file I had found earlier, I demanded, "Explain what this is." Before he could respond, I continued, "This is the detailed plan for the Okadera Mountain Resort Hotel construction project. I know it's a significant project you're working on." "How did you?" he began, but I cut him off. "I saw it sticking out of your bag, so I looked. You went through my private work files? Do you realize how serious this is? If this information were to fall into the wrong hands," he started, his voice rising in alarm. "What are you afraid of? Being sued by my company and having the truth exposed? Is that what would happen if this ever got into the wrong hands?" I challenged. Akinari was left speechless, his eyes wide with shock. "We've both been distant from each other. That document is a joint construction project agreement and contract between my company and yours. See where it says cooperating company and XS company. XS company is mine and I'm the vice president," I revealed with a smile. His mouth fell open, a bead of sweat trickling down his face. He began to panic and feigned examining the document. "No, that can't be right. It must be a mistake from my assistant in the material order or something. Are you making excuses now?" "I didn't even mention the material order. We were investigating why we lost contact with your company and realized there was an error in the order. We plan to confirm it later, but your admission just confirmed it," I countered. He covered his mouth, perhaps trying to stop himself from saying more. "It's too late now," he interjected sharply, "and based on what I heard on the phone, it seems you're the one responsible for this mess. You can't even manage to place orders correctly or handle the construction schedule. It's clear that a University of Tokyo graduate doesn't live up to the hype. Or do you still believe you're so brilliant?" He continued, cutting me off before I could respond. "Why does my wife's company have to outshine mine? How is this even possible? This is absurd. I'm intelligent and capable because of my University of Tokyo degree. You know it," he lamented to himself. In response, I calmly stated, "Well, I've never considered you particularly bright." "Oh, please." The sight of his expression makes me nauseous. "As the vice president and head of this project, I'm halting all transactions with your company and seeking damages for this project. Additionally, I'll be filing for divorce." I informed him of the 3 actions I intended to take. "Please, anything but that," my usually disrespectful husband begged, his palms pressed together. "What do you mean anything but that? You mean all 3 actions? All of them? My entire life will crumble at once," he pleaded. "Yes, all of them. It seems it's not just one issue now, is it?" I couldn't help but chuckle at his incompetence. This time, as he watched me laugh at him, he felt a deep sense of shame. I no longer wish to be associated with such incompetence, whether as a couple or a company. "It's time to let go and preserve what dignity you have left," I advised him. At that moment, he seemed to realize he had run out of options. Desperately, he clung to my leg, perhaps in a last-ditch effort to save himself. "Please don't leave me. Don't leave me." The once confident man now sounded desperate, resembling a child being punished by being kicked out of his parents' home. Ignoring his pleas, I made a phone call instead. "Hi, President. I'll explain the details later, but I've identified the person responsible for the project mishap. Yes, I'll ensure damages are claimed properly. Okay, bye." After hanging up, he slowly released my leg and stared at the floor. Exhausted, I decided to head to bed without a word, leaving him behind. The next morning, my husband was nowhere to be found. Before heading to work, I stopped by the courthouse to obtain divorce paperwork, which I kept in my purse. I planned to have him sign the papers after work. Upon arriving at the office, I encountered a commotion at the entrance. Akinari was amidst a group of men, engaged in a heated dispute. "I'm terribly sorry," the president apologized upon seeing me approach. "They've been causing a disturbance for the past 30 minutes, so I decided to call the police." Shortly after, the police arrived and intervened. Amidst the chaos, I couldn't make out what was being said. After giving them a stern warning, the police dispersed the group and they left. That evening, Akinari returned home with a defeated air about him. Without a word, he silently signed the papers I presented. Never subject yourself to such humiliation again, I admonished, but he seemed to be lost in his own world, broken and detached. Ensuring he completed all the paperwork correctly, I gathered my belongings and left without another word, opting to stay in a hotel until I found a new place. The following day, I filed the necessary paperwork to finalize the divorce. Our marriage had lacked love from the start, so I felt neither sadness nor stress over its dissolution. Life continued as usual, and 2 weeks later, I learned that my ex-husband's company had declared bankruptcy. Despite paying the damages to my company, they couldn't sustain future projects due to financial constraints. Consequently, my ex-husband, the project leader, faced legal action from the company, as my boss informed me. Ironically, my ex-husband's emphasis on education as a measure of competence had backfired. His downfall underscored the truth that academic credentials alone don't guarantee success. While Japan values higher education, once in a company, everyone is on equal footing. Success depends on resourcefulness and intentions, not just academic prowess. With this realization, I reaffirmed my belief that a person's educational background isn't paramount. Instead, dedication and determination are what truly matter. Armed with this perspective, I vowed to continue my journey with unwavering dedication, confident that success would follow. My name is Emily, and at 43 years old, I find myself navigating life's twists and turns alone. 2 years ago, my husband John, who was my age, was taken by a sudden heart attack. His absence left a void that seemed insurmountable. We had hoped for children, but fate had different plans, leaving us in a silent ache of unfulfilled dreams. Guilt often washed over me, knowing John's deep longing for fatherhood. Yet in his wisdom, he reassured me, our happiness doesn't depend on children. It's in cherishing each other, just the two of us. We held on to those words tightly, crafting moments of joy amidst our shared sorrow. But life's capriciousness had another chapter in store for me. In a cruel twist, just as we found solace in each other's company, I found myself grappling with the stark loneliness of his absence. In this unforgiving reality, circumstances led me to reside alone under the same roof as my late husband's mother, a woman with whom I frequently found myself at odds. Our living arrangement became the result of John's parents' divorce, with his father now a presence in our shared dwelling, a two-family abode offering the only solace in an otherwise strained situation. Yet, as time passed, my mother-in-law's visits grew more frequent, perhaps driven by a longing for her departed son. I couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Her demeanor was often overbearing, punctuated by subtle jabs. "What exactly do you mean by that?" I would inquire, bracing for the inevitable sting of her words. "It's because he ended up with someone like you that John's no longer with us. You bear some responsibility," she would assert, her accusations as sharp as ever. Her reproaches were nothing new, but each time they cut deeper. "Are you seriously suggesting that I'm to blame?" I challenged, grappling with the weight of her accusations. "Perhaps he fell ill because you couldn't manage his diet properly. I suspect your cooking was too rich. His weight gain after marriage speaks volumes," my mother-in-law asserted, her words like barbs aimed directly at my heart. While it was true that John had put on weight since our wedding day, he always praised my cooking and savored each meal with genuine delight. His kindness knew no bounds. Even if the food had been supper, he'd have eaten it without complaint. "If only you had been more vigilant about his health, this tragedy could have been avoided," she continued, her tone heavy with accusation. These words, delivered by my mother-in-law in the somber days before John's funeral 2 years ago, struck me like a thunderbolt. Blaming me for John's illness and passing was a cruel twist of fate, one that left me reeling with pain. Though I knew the accusations were unfounded, the constant repetition took a toll on my psyche, making an already difficult time nearly unbearable. For my mother-in-law, Joe must have been the center of her universe. The abrupt and untimely loss of her beloved son must have been excruciating. I could empathize with her struggle to contain her emotions. However, her attacks on me intensified with each passing day, a development I had sadly anticipated. "Because of you, my precious son is gone. Were you plotting to inherit his insurance money all along?" she accused, her words cutting like daggers. How many times must I deny such baseless accusations? It's simply not true, I retorted, trying to maintain my composure. You deliberately avoided having children just to claim his insurance money, didn't you? You're a devious woman, she spat venomously. As a couple, we longed for children and pursued every avenue, including medical assistance. But despite our efforts, we were unable to conceive. The notion of profiting from insurance is ludicrous, I explained, my patience wearing thin. Do you honestly believe I would fall for such a charade? She scoffed, her disbelief palpable. Each day without John is a torment for me. I can't pretend to be anything other than what I am, I replied, my voice tinged with sorrow. Why do you utter such cruelty? It would have been better if you had never been part of our lives. Why did Joe have to endure this? Your words are unbearable. I can't bear the thought of never seeing my son again, she lamented, her anguish pouring out in waves. What would John think if he heard you now? Pointing fingers won't bring him back. Joe was a remarkable and hardworking son. His loss is incomprehensible. It would have been easier if you were here. There's a line you don't cross. Some things are better left unsaid. Oh, I'm just talking to myself. Voicing thoughts that have been haunting me. It's nothing you need to concern yourself with. What's your ultimate point? Leave? And why should I leave? Your presence is suffocating. I won't demand it today, but please vacate this house at the earliest. Since John's passing, ownership rightfully belongs to me. After John's passing, you've probably got your eye on the insurance money and the house, haven't you? She accused, her tone heavy with suspicion. You're making wild assumptions. I wasn't even aware of any insurance payout until after he passed. I defended myself, feeling the weight of her distrust bearing down on me. Her discovery of the insurance payout seemed to fuel her suspicions, as if she believed I had orchestrated John's death to secure the house and money. No matter how hard I tried to reason with her, she remained steadfast in her mistrust. I felt like I was reaching my breaking point. Living under the same roof was becoming unbearable, each day more mentally draining than the last. The next day, the tension boiled over. You must be living the high life now. No need to worry about work with all that insurance money rolling in. Is that why you're here, to rub it in? She sneered, her words laced with bitterness. It's not fair to twist my words like that. I can't take these constant jabs. I understand you're grieving for John, but it's not right to lash out at me. I miss him just as much and feel the ache of his absence every day, I replied, trying to maintain my composure amidst the storm of accusations. Seriously, spare me the act. You've got it made with the house and money, don't you? Playing the devoted wife role, I see, she sneered, her tone dripping with sarcasm. I won't entertain such accusations. We face our own struggles, particularly with not having children, but I loved John deeply and envisioned a future filled with cherished moments together, I countered, trying to hold onto my dignity amidst her onslaught. It's astounding how you can speak so freely with everything falling into place for you. Must be nice having life handed to you on a silver platter, she retorted, her words cutting deep. That's a heartless thing to say. If I could trade the money and the house just to have John back, I'd do it without a second thought, I confess, my voice tinged with sorrow. Ah, so you're implying you don't need the insurance money then? She pressed, a hint of skepticism in her tone. Why would you even suggest such a thing? Just because I don't need it doesn't mean I'll refuse it. This money represents John's last gesture of love and concern for my future without him. I intend to honor that sentiment, I replied firmly, determined not to let her diminish the significance of John's final gift to me. You have no shame, she spat, her disdain evident in her tone. Feeling the strain of our cohabitation weighing heavily upon us both, I summoned the courage to broach a topic that had been weighing on my mind. Can we put an end to this arrangement? I proposed, hoping for a resolution to our ongoing conflict. What do you mean? She inquired, her tone wary. We argue every day, and it's taking a toll on both of us. I believe it's in our best interest to part ways, I explained, bracing myself for her response. That sounds like the most sensible option. Please make arrangements to vacate the premises soon, she replied, her words tinged with finality. It's you who should be leaving. This house belongs to me, I countered, feeling a surge of indignation. I can't believe you're trying to evict me. You're even more heartless than I thought. The house is too large for me alone. I'm contemplating selling it and settling elsewhere. Besides, properties in this area fetch a good price, I declared, determined to assert my own interests in the face of her hostility. Seems like every conversation with you circles back to money. How much is enough for you? If you're considering selling, why not just hand the house over to me? It'll be too much for you to manage alone, and the expenses, like property taxes, could become overwhelming. I could help you find a more suitable living situation, like an apartment. Are you suggesting I pay rent to stay in my own home? If selling is your plan, then consider handing it over to me. Renting an apartment would likely be more economical than maintaining this entire house. I can't commit to monthly rent payments, but I'm willing to contribute towards it. If that's the arrangement, so be it. I'm relieved to finally break free from living under the same roof with you. I always feared it would come to this. Just promise me you'll provide financial support. Agreed. Let's start the search for an apartment soon. So, we made the decision to go our separate ways. Despite our complicated relationship, my mother-in-law is the mother of my late husband, John. I feel a duty to support her, especially considering her financial struggles. With this in mind, I began the search for a suitable apartment for her. I feel like I've let you down. The diagnosis was a cerebral hemorrhage, but thankfully, it wasn't life-threatening. I spent 2 months in the hospital, including my recovery time. Throughout my stay, my mother-in-law never once came to visit. It was my parents and sister who took turns caring for me. Their unwavering support allowed me to regain almost normalcy in my daily life, with only minor lingering symptoms. And before I knew it, my 2-month hospital stay had passed, and the day of my discharge had arrived. I had initially planned to temporarily stay at my parents' place, but upon returning home to gather my belongings, I was greeted by a startling sight. "What? Where's the house? What happened?" I exclaimed, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. My mother-in-law appeared as though she had been expecting me. "Congratulations on being discharged. I didn't expect you to look so well. It seems there are minimal lingering effects, and I can resume my usual routine. I'm relieved to hear that you're doing better. But what happened to the house while I was in the hospital?" I inquired, my mind reeling with questions. "Well, you see, I sold it for around $150,000, she replied matter-of-factly. "What do you mean you sold it without consulting me?" I demanded, incredulous. "I had a friend who was eager to live in this area. Her husband works nearby, and they needed a place urgently, so I went ahead and sold it," she explained casually. "Selling it without even informing me is completely unacceptable," I protested, feeling a surge of anger. "It's not that big of a deal. I received an offer right after you were hospitalized. I figured even if you recovered, you might struggle to live independently and could end up in a care facility, so I made the decision on my own." "Don't be upset," she said, trying to justify her actions. "I can't believe this. Thanks to me finding a buyer, we got $150,000 from selling the house," she added, as though it were a positive outcome. "I can't believe it. While I was in the hospital, my mother-in-law sold the house without consulting me. Apparently, their acquaintance had always coveted the land surrounding my house, and my mother-in-law took it upon herself to arrange a private sale," I recounted, feeling a mix of shock and betrayal. "Are you seriously considering selling someone's house without their consent and pocketing the proceeds?" I questioned, appalled by her audacity. "But the house was originally in John's name, wasn't it?" she countered, attempting to justify her actions. "While that may be true, I fail to see how that concerns you," I replied, growing increasingly frustrated. "Anything that belonged to my son John is rightfully mine," she asserted, her tone unyielding. "You seem to conveniently interpret things in your favor, but that's not how ownership works," I retorted, feeling exasperated. "What exactly are you implying?" she challenged. "When John passed away, the title of the house transferred to my name," I explained, hoping to clarify the situation. "And what's your point?" she asked, seemingly unfazed. "Selling a house without the owner's consent is bordering on criminal behavior," I stated firmly, unable to hide my disbelief. "Please refrain from calling me a criminal," she snapped defensively. "Who would have thought you'd consider life as usual after hearing about the cerebral hemorrhage? That doesn't give you the right to sell it," I argued, struggling to contain my frustration. "Why the hostile expression? Do you honestly believe you'd win in court? How about we split it 50-50? That way, we each get $75,000, she suggested nonchalantly. "It's not about the money," I snapped, feeling my anger rising. "Then why are you so upset?" "While I was hospitalized, she single-handedly sold her house and used the proceeds to purchase a condo for herself. Strangely enough, there was a condo neighboring our old house for sale at around $75,000, and she's currently residing there. To top it off, she relocated my belongings to her new place. It seems that during those 2 months of my hospitalization, she doubted the severity of my condition and took it upon herself to make significant decisions. It was time to confront the self-centered woman with the truth. The house is no longer in my name, I revealed, my voice tinged with resignation. What do you mean? I demanded, struggling to comprehend her actions. I started the process of selling the house while I was in the hospital, she confessed. And what of it? I pressed, my frustration mounting. Due to its prime location, the sale was swiftly arranged. I was meant to handle the paperwork post-discharge, but it's already been finalized, so there's no turning back, she explained matter-of-factly. You must cancel it immediately, I insisted, feeling the surge of urgency. It's my property, so I see no reason to cancel, she countered, her tone firm. You need to explain the situation to your acquaintance and return the $150,000. I urged, hoping she would see reason. What are you suggesting? I've already purchased a condo, she revealed, her response leaving me speechless. So you're only willing to return half of it? I asked, feeling a mix of frustration and disbelief. Then you'll need to sell the apartment you're currently residing in to repay the remaining sum, won't you? I pressed, determined to find a solution. My clients are also considering demolishing the house, so it's convenient for them. I need to proceed with the necessary procedures, so please arrange for the refund promptly, she insisted, her tone resolute. Wait a minute. We're not finished discussing this, I interjected, feeling a sense of urgency. I'm considering returning to my parents' home, so I'd appreciate it if you could arrange to have my belongings sent there, I requested, hoping for some semblance of cooperation. Wait, I have a feeling today will be the last time we see each other. Please take care, she said, her words tinged with finality, leaving me with a sense of resignation. After that incident, I severed all ties with her. Later, I heard she apologized to the acquaintance she had sold the house to without my consent and reimbursed them. The total expenses, including demolition and inconvenience fees, amounted to roughly $170,000. Additionally, despite selling her apartment, its value had decreased since her purchase, leaving her with substantial debt. On the other hand, thanks to her actions, I saved on demolition costs and made a significant profit from selling my house. A new home was constructed on the land where John and I had once lived. Seeing the new house brought back memories of the happy times we shared, evoking both nostalgia and sadness. Despite my reservations, I decided to visit the site. To my surprise, someone I never wished to see again appeared. Well, it's been some time, hasn't it? She greeted me. Why are you here, mother-in-law? I asked, taken aback by her unexpected presence. I'm heading to work, she replied casually. You're going to work now? I questioned, surprised by her response. Yes, she affirmed. So you've started working? I inquired, puzzled by this newfound revelation. I'm drowning in debt because of you, I accused. How can you say that? I'm not responsible for your financial troubles, she retorted defensively. What happened to the assistance you promised with my apartment? I pressed. Our relationship has ended, so any previous agreements are null and void, she replied coldly. John would be devastated by all of this. I would tell him the same, I stated, my voice tinged with sadness. What do you mean? She inquired, her tone softening slightly. John always prioritized me and treated me with kindness. He was considerate, wasn't he? I reminisced. What's your point? She asked, sensing where the conversation was heading. You used to blame me every day, saying that John's death was my fault, I reminded her. And it's the truth. How do you think John would feel if he knew? She fired back. Mother-in-law, if it weren't for John, you would be in a much worse situation, I pointed out. Are you still going to insist on that? Will it change anything? She challenged, her tone bitter with resentment. I have no interest in being lectured by you. With all the money you now have, you should take on some of the debt burden. After all, we're still family, aren't we? She retorted, her tone tinged with bitterness. I never truly cared for you, but I intended to support you because you're John's beloved mother, I confessed. Well, that's the least you can do, she replied, her voice laced with expectation. However, I can't overlook some of the hurtful things you've said and done since my stroke. I can't simply forget the pain caused by your words, I admitted, feeling the weight of unresolved grievances. That was months ago. It's time to let go of grudges, she insisted, brushing off my concerns. It's not easy for the person who was wounded by those words to simply move on, I countered, my frustration mounting. You're quite stubborn, aren't you? Call it what you want, she dismissed, showing no remorse. I'm no longer involved. By the way, shouldn't you be at work by now? I redirected the conversation, eager to end the confrontation. Ah, look at the time. Take care on your way, she responded, avoiding the topic. If it weren't for you, I'd be enjoying a peaceful retirement, I remarked bitterly. It sounds like you regret your decisions. Instead of blaming others, perhaps it's time to reflect on your own actions, she suggested, deflecting any responsibility. After expressing my thoughts to her, I walked away from the confrontation. I recounted. It's only been 2 years since John passed away. Thanks to the financial security he left behind, I've been able to build a stable life. His legacy means everything to me, and I'm determined to honor it wisely. I've invested in an apartment close to my parents' home where I now reside alone. Though I long for John's presence, I take solace in the belief that he watches over me from above. My aim is to lead a long, fulfilling life, cherishing the memories we shared and living for both of us. My ultimate dream is to one day reunite with him in heaven, where we can relive our cherished moments together. I've longed for children, but you're the reason we couldn't have them. My husband spat out, hurling those hurtful words at me after 20 years of marriage. In that moment, I realized I couldn't continue with him. His callousness cut deep and his mind was elsewhere, dreaming of a new life without me. It felt as if some divine eye had witnessed his cruelty. My name is Lisa, 45 years old, a secretary at a law firm. Our marriage, nearing 2 decades, had been modest and childless. Despite our shared desire for children, infertility plagued us, primarily my own struggles. I underwent treatments, exhausting myself physically, emotionally, and financially, only to face disappointment. When I turned 40, we conceded defeat. My husband's desire for children persisted, but I couldn't endure the pain and financial strain any longer. We decided to halt treatments and embrace a childless life, opting for luxury trips instead. Yet the pang of regret lingered, especially when confronted with images of children on TV or greeting cards. Even 5 years post-treatments, guilt and remorse gnawed at me. Then, a school reunion beckoned after a decade. My husband encouraged me to take a break, sensing it as a mini vacation. It felt like a temporary escape from the weight of our childless existence. I realized I had scarcely been out alone since our wedding day, my life consumed by infertility treatments. But a little indulgence now and then couldn't hurt, right? At the venue, catching up with old friends felt refreshing. Lisa, long time no see. You look great, slimmer than before, one friend remarked. Indeed, I had shed about 22 pounds over the past decade. Thanks, I replied with a smile. I envy you. Since marriage and kids, I've gained almost 33 pounds, she lamented. Her words, though innocent, stung a bit. Any kids for you? Another friend asked. No, we couldn't, I replied, feeling the weight of the question. Just the 2 of us. Oh, sorry for asking such an awkward question, she apologized. No worries, let's just enjoy ourselves, I reassured, trying to maintain a lively atmosphere. As conversation flowed, a startling revelation emerged. My son was nearly caught in a marriage scam recently, one classmate shared. I was taken aback. A scam. Yes, they asked him for $20,000 for their wedding, but it fell through, she explained. What happened next? I inquired, intrigued. He couldn't afford it, so he came to us for advice. That's when we uncovered the scam. The woman vanished, she recounted. It's terrifying, I murmured, shaken by the story. There are some awful people out there, another friend chimed in. Really scary. A marriage scam, I mused, shocked that such deceit could occur so close to home. Thankfully, her son had moved on with a new girlfriend, and the parents seemed relieved. The reunion continued smoothly, eventually winding down. Instead of heading to the after-party, I decided to head home, reflecting on the evening's unexpected revelations. I returned to my hotel, savoring a nightcap alone. It struck me, I hadn't checked in with my husband. It was only 10 p.m. He should still be awake. Despite repeated calls, he didn't answer. Perhaps he already turned in. Well, I'd be back tomorrow, so it wasn't a pressing concern. Yet an uneasy feeling gnawed at me. Was it women's intuition? Something felt off. From then on, my husband started arriving home unusually late on weekdays, often inebriated. "Hey, I'm home," he slurred one night, collapsing onto the living room floor. "Are you okay?" I asked, concern creeping into my voice. "Shut up. I'm home. Show some respect," he retorted, his words clouded by alcohol. As I tidied up his discarded clothes, he muttered something about Alyssa. You know, if you were as young as Alyssa. Confusion gripped me. Who was Alyssa? What did he mean by his words? Before I could inquire further, he was already asleep. Could he be cheating on me? The unease I felt that day morphed into a creeping certainty. But no, my husband was a good man. It must be drunken nonsense. Yet doubts lingered, unsettling my thoughts. I tried to reassure myself, but my husband's erratic behavior gnawed at me. Weekends meant early departures and late returns, often accompanied by the stench of alcohol. It had become a pattern I could no longer ignore. "You're going out drinking almost every day lately. Are we okay?" I ventured one evening. "Mind your own business. It's my money," he snapped back, dismissive of my concern. "But we need to save for our future," I insisted. His response cut deep. "Well, I've spent quite a bit on treatments." "That's because you're defective." Even in his inebriated state, his words stung. I could have fathomed he'd speak to me that way. As time passed, his disparaging remarks grew more frequent. "Since you can't have kids, you should focus on showing affection to me," he'd say. With each selfish act, my love for him waned. Gone was the caring husband who once supported me through treatments. Would he ever return? After 20 years, I began questioning the essence of our marriage. But before I could confront him about it, he dropped a bombshell. "We need to talk," he said, his demeanor serious. I returned from work to find him on the sofa, his expression grave. "What's wrong? Why are you being so formal?" I asked, sensing something was amiss. "I want a divorce," he declared bluntly. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. "You're joking, right? Why would you say that all of a sudden?" I pleaded, hoping for reassurance. But the idea of divorce had never crossed his mind before. "Yes," he confirmed, leaving me stunned and bewildered. The revelation hit me like a tidal wave. Divorce? Had my husband been considering it all along? I confronted him, desperate for clarity. "Out of the blue, you want a divorce? What's going on?" I demanded, my emotions raw. "We've been together for 20 years, haven't we? Let's talk this through," I urged, hoping for understanding. But he met my plea with contempt. "You're clueless, aren't you?" he scoffed, his tone laced with bitterness. Confusion clouded my mind. "What do you mean?" "For 20 years I've wanted children, but because of you I've been denied that chance," he accused, his words cutting deep. His revelation blindsided me. "That's not fair. We decided together to stop treatments," I countered, feeling the weight of sadness and frustration. "I was never okay with that. I've always wanted a child," he confessed, his voice heavy with regret. Tears threatened to spill as the reality sank in. "Well, if you sign the divorce papers, I won't have anything else to say," he declared proudly, pushing the papers toward me. But his next words struck like lightning. "I've already decided to remarry." "Remarry? With a 20-year-old? I gasped, disbelief coursing through me. "That's right. Alyssa," he confirmed, a smug satisfaction in his tone. Alyssa. The name echoed in my mind, the same name he had mentioned before. Woman's intuition, it seemed, was not to be underestimated. I felt a flicker of self-satisfaction, but I knew it wasn't the time for indulgence. Then my husband showed me a picture of his so-called adorable Alyssa. As I examined it closely, I struggled to contain my laughter. Surely, this had to be a joke. How could something like this be real? I prayed he didn't notice my odd reaction and swiftly composed myself. "So, you really want a child that badly?" I questioned, masking my incredulity. "Yes, because you can't give birth. There's nothing we can do about that, right? You'll agree to the divorce, won't you?" he pressed, oblivious to my internal turmoil. "I suppose there's no choice," I replied, feigning distress, though secretly his sheer idiocy made the decision easier. With each passing moment, the thought of divorcing him grew more appealing. It felt like divine intervention guiding me toward the right path. With a heavy heart, or so I pretended, I signed the divorce papers and left him behind. I couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. Surely, he would regret his actions soon enough. Time would tell. Fast forward a year after the divorce, and I encountered him on my way home from work. His appearance shocked me. "Lisa, please help me," he pleaded, his shabby appearance a stark contrast to the man I once knew. "Excuse me, who are you?" I asked, genuinely not recognizing him. "It's me, Lisa. I need your help," he insisted, desperation evident in his voice. I hesitated, taken aback by his transformation. "Long time no see," I finally managed, unsure of how to react. In that moment, I realized the tables had turned. It was now his turn to seek assistance, and I held all the cards. "Please introduce me to your company's lawyer," he implored, his request a humbling reminder of his downfall. I couldn't just agree to help out of the blue. It seemed my ex-husband was facing financial troubles. I had sensed it from his appearance, but I never imagined he would change so drastically within a year. "If it's your first consultation, it's free. But to hire them, you'll have to pay their fee," I explained, trying to navigate the situation. "I don't have that kind of money. Please help me," he pleaded, desperation evident in his voice. Perplexed by his sudden predicament, I decided to hear him out. We found ourselves in a nearby cafe, where he began to share his story. "Well, actually," he started, but before he could finish, I interjected. "Did that girl Alyssa run off?" I asked, a sudden realization dawning on me. "How did you know?" he responded, surprise evident in his voice. "Just as I suspected. When you showed me a picture of a girl named Alyssa, it clicked. She looked exactly like the one who killed a classmate's son at a reunion," I explained, recalling the warning given by the classmate about a woman named Sally, approximately 22 years old. "Her age and name are probably fake, of course. The swindler wouldn't use her real name," I added, connecting the dots. "Of course you knew about Alyssa, didn't you?" he questioned, realization settling in. "Well, I guess you could say I knew. But what happened?" I inquired, eager to unravel the full story. When I pressed my husband for an explanation, this was the story he offered. About a year ago, he met a woman named Alyssa at a nightclub. My husband, who had always harbored a desire for children, seemed to have shared his thoughts with her. It was during one of these conversations that Alyssa made an astonishing offer: she could bear a child for him. Their relationship blossomed from there. He started frequenting the club almost every weekday and spent weekends with Alyssa outside its confines. In the process, he depleted $10,000 from his savings, accumulated during his single days. Despite this, Alyssa never demanded lavish gifts or expensive outings. She was content just to share a drink with him at the club. She was different, he insisted. Not like the stereotypical club girls you often hear about. She didn't care about designer goods or jewelry. She was happy as long as I was there with her. He painted Alyssa as hardworking and sincere, emphasizing their agreement not to touch each other's savings from their single days. I thought it was his money and he could use it as he pleased, I admitted, unaware of his extravagant spending. Then my husband revealed the twist in the tale. Alyssa's true colors had emerged. "I want to get married, but I had debts totaling about $20,000. Then my husband promised to take on Alyssa's debt and transferred the money to her," I recounted, my voice heavy with regret. "They moved in together right after our divorce, but Alyssa continued her nighttime work and rarely came home. Eventually, she quit her job at the club and disappeared, taking all the money with her. How could he be so foolish?" I lamented, feeling a sense of despair at having been married to such a man for 20 years. "Did you make a promissory note?" I inquired, hoping for some semblance of responsibility. "A what?" My husband looked puzzled. "You lent her money, didn't you? Didn't you get a note?" I pressed, frustration creeping into my tone. "We were going to be a couple, so I didn't do such a thing," he admitted. "So, you basically gave her the money, is that it?" I asked incredulously. "In this case, it seems like you donated $20,000 to Alyssa out of goodwill," I concluded, my disappointment palpable. "This woman must be a pro," I mused, realizing the extent of her deception. In the case of donations, if the amount exceeds $11,000 in a year, gift tax is imposed. Depending on the case, the receiver might be taxed. So, Alyssa just took $20,000 in cash and vanished, splitting the money into two parts across 2 different years to avoid taxes. The reason my husband thought she was a good girl who never asked for material gifts was because she knew the law well. "So, what should I do?" I asked, feeling overwhelmed. "I don't know. Maybe consult a lawyer. It'll cost you, though, he replied, his shoulders slumping in defeat. All my savings from my single days are gone, and the woman I loved ran away from me. I can't go back on my word to the company about remarrying after boasting about getting a younger wife. Isn't that his own doing? I thought, feeling the weight of my husband's pitiful situation. Lisa, it's my fault. Please come back to me, he pleaded. I realized after you were gone, you were the only one who cared about me. I don't need kids anymore. I'll let you do as you like. You must have been lonely too, right? But his misunderstanding persisted. That matter had ended half a year ago in my mind, so I confronted him with reality. You know, it's been a year. What's with this sudden change of heart? Isn't it a little too late now? Lisa, are you going to abandon me? Well, it was you who pushed for our divorce in the first place, remember? I reminded him. You're the only one I can rely on. My ex-husband looked utterly exhausted, and I decided to show him a little mercy. All right then, shall I call up a lawyer friend of mine? Lisa, thank you. I knew I could count on you, he said, tears welling up in his eyes. Mr. Johnson, the lawyer for my company, arrived at the coffee shop. John, over here, I called out, and my ex-husband seemed somewhat perplexed by our overly familiar demeanor. You see, we've been dating for the past 6 months now, I explained. What was it you needed advice on? As I finished speaking, my ex-husband looked as if he was in a daze. No, well, I think that'll be it for today, he muttered, suddenly snapping back to reality and hurriedly leaving the coffee shop. In the end, he couldn't afford to hire a lawyer and resigned himself to his fate. Rumor had it that his company was abuzz with talk of his unfortunate situation, left by his soon-to-be wife and ignored by his ex-wife. As Mr. Johnson and I spoke later, I confessed the truth about the charade. I'm sorry for involving you in all this, I apologized. No worries, Lisa. I'm glad I could be of help, he reassured me. By the way, do you have any plans after this? Caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events, I was a little flustered, but a fresh start in my mid-40s didn't seem like such a bad beginning. Yes, I'd love to, I agreed, certain that a fun-filled future was awaiting me. I couldn't shake off this feeling of excitement.
I'm Emily. Jake, my older brother by 2 years, is a scientist. He's living his dream of working in research and seems really happy with it, even though he's busy all day. Our son, Mike, is 3 years old, just like Jake. He loves watching and trying out new things. Right now, he's really into the goldfish he caught at the fall festival. Our daughter, Sarah, is 1 year old. She loves to eat, and her chubby cheeks are just so cute. She brings so much happiness to our home. Life is pretty good for our regular family, except for one thing. Emily, what are we having for dinner tonight? Mother-in-law. Just as I was trying to calm down my crying daughter and finish cooking dinner, the doorbell rang without warning. My mother-in-law strolled into our house, as she often does around this time. While it's not always on the same day each week, her visits are frequent enough that my son hardly even glances away from the TV. My goodness, fried food again. That's not good, too oily. You should take better care of Jake's stomach when he comes home tired from work. It's not good for the grandkids either. But Mike really enjoys it. Well, that's because you only give him junk. Look, I've made a creamy vegetable stew and minestrone for you. It's important for the kids to get used to Western food from an early age. My mother-in-law began setting the table with the large containers of creamy stew and minestrone she brought. It's a lot, enough to last for at least 3 days, and I felt a bit disheartened just looking at the stew, which was mostly carrots and cabbage. Come on, snap out of it. I'll take the food you made home with me, so go ahead and pack it up. It's not tasty, but we can't waste food. This was routine. Last time she visited unexpectedly, she replaced my clam chowder with her own fried chicken. She left without even sparing a glance at her grandchildren, clutching the still warm container. Once the front door closed, my son turned to me. Softly, Grandma took my fried chicken again. My heart ached seeing the sadness on my son's face. Don't worry, there's a little bit of meat left. Just wait a moment. Yay! As I heated up the oil again, I felt relieved seeing my son's joyful reaction to my words. However, my inner dissatisfaction lingered. My mother-in-law had become increasingly intrusive since my marriage, and it had worsened over the last year. Every week, she showed up unannounced during dinner prep time. Initially, she would just criticize my cooking and parenting. then leave her cream stew on the counter. But for the past 6 months, she started taking my food home with her, effectively ruining our meal. I couldn't fathom my mother-in-law, who lived alone since my father-in-law passed away, eating all 3 servings. She was probably throwing it away. As I prepared baby food and distracted the kids, I managed to cook. It was tough, but seeing my family's happy faces kept me going. Yet, my fried chicken, braised pork, mapo tofu, and hamburgers, all of it, got taken away. I grew up in a family that owned a restaurant, and my dad taught me how to cook, so I'm pretty confident in my culinary skills. And honestly, I think my food tastes better than my mother-in-law's overly sweet cream stew. It bothers me to have my abilities undermined by her, but with Mike in the picture, I've been finding it hard to stand up to my mother-in-law, who is also his grandma. More cream stew? Jake, who comes home after the kids have gone to sleep, makes a face when he sees dinner. Since only Mike's share of fried chicken was left, I serve Jake a large platter of the cream stew. What can I do? It's what my mother-in-law brings over. If you don't like it, you can tell her. Yeah, I guess. Jake pokes at the stew, showing little enthusiasm. He shows up without considering Sarah's nap time and even takes away Mike's favorite foods right in front of him. Well, she's lonely since Dad died. That was 2 years ago. How much longer do I have to put up with this? Yeah, I guess. Jake is usually dependable, but he avoids confrontation when it comes to his mother-in-law. Another fruitless conversation passes, and I let out a deep sigh. The only positive thing is that she hasn't suggested moving in. One day, tired of the usual routine, my mother-in-law drops a bombshell during dinner. Instead of her typical greeting, she announces, "Emily, this Christmas, everyone's gathering at our place." What? But after your father passed away last year, we haven't really been able to do much. We've relied on relatives from Dad's side since the funeral, so I'm inviting them to our home as a way of saying thank you, she explains. Sounds exhausting, I respond, lacking enthusiasm. I wonder how she plans to host suddenly when we've always gathered at her brother-in-law's or her own childhood home for Christmas and family reunions. She frowns at me, as if dealing with someone of lesser intelligence. You're not just a bystander here. You'll be helping too, she declares. What? Come over on the 24th and help clean up, she adds, surprising me with her audacious decision. But Sarah is so young. Just use a baby carrier or something. That's how women used to do it back in the day, she suggests, brushing aside my objections. Maybe, but you're also in charge of the full-course Christmas meal. Don't you dare repackage store-bought food or cook anything that tastes bad. I don't want to be embarrassed, she warns. What? You can't be serious, I protest. I'm thinking of inviting your dad's relatives on one day and my sister's family and our daughter on another. It'll be a busy holiday, she continues, though her complaints are tinged with a hint of satisfaction. Hold on, the one who's going to be busy is me, not you. As the daughter-in-law of this family's eldest son, do your duty properly, okay, she concludes before leaving me stunned and my son surprised. She doesn't forget to pack the shrimp gratin that just needs to be baked. That night, when I share my mother-in-law's plans with Jake, he's just as puzzled as I am. What? She's organizing a party on Christmas Eve? Inviting Dad's side of the family when he's not here. Yeah, that's the idea, I confirm. Well, maybe Mom's feeling lonely, Jake suggests. I finally lose my temper at Jake's predictable response. Think about what it's like for me, always being pushed around. Seeing Jake's expression shift to one of realization, he falls silent. Even he understands that this time, it's too much, and he lets out a resigned sigh. All right, I'll handle the cleaning and entertaining the relatives. Really? I'm relieved to hear Jake's offer. It gives me some direction. But can you still cook the full-course Christmas meal? He asks. Just for this year. Let's keep Mom's reputation intact. Plus, everyone in the family loves your cooking, he pleads, eyeing the meatloaf his mother left for us. I mean, it's hard to say no after making a concession, he adds. Fine, just for this year. Thanks, man. I can't wait for Emily's Christmas feast. I say grateful for his understanding. Geez, you're in high spirits, aren't you? Jake remarks, smiling. Being praised isn't so bad, and I don't mind cooking for people. So I prepare myself mentally, knowing it's just for this time, and agree to prepare a full-course Christmas meal. When I inform my mother-in-law that Jake will stay over to help with cleaning, she makes a displeased face and says, "How could you let the man of the house do such things?" But she seems reasonably satisfied, seeing Jake bustling around at his parents' home for my sake. Then comes Christmas lunchtime. "Emily, is the corn soup ready?" my mother-in-law asks. "I'm preparing the croutons now," I reply, scurrying around the kitchen to get the carpaccio and corn soup ready. "You're so inefficient." "I'll bring the food myself," she criticizes. "I'm sorry. If you're going to complain, try preparing a meal for 20 people. It's really, truly exhausting," I retort, feeling the strain of the day. Finally, the serving is done, and I sit down at the party, relieved to have made it through. Jake seems to have settled our daughter down for a nap in another room. Despite the challenge of preparing a full-course Christmas meal for 20 people, it's gratifying to see everyone relishing my cooking. However, this feeling of satisfaction is short-lived. "This quiche looks so beautiful. It's like something you'd buy," someone compliments. "Ah, thank you," I reply, feeling a bit uneasy. "You're good at flattery. This carrot slaw is perfectly balanced with the vinegar. The orange scent really freshens up your mouth," another guest remarks. "That's because Christmas meals tend to be rich, so I made it a bit more acidic," I explain. Something feels off. Every time someone tries to praise my Christmas cooking, my mother-in-law interrupts with her own commentary. Finally, Sophia, father-in-law's sister, unwittingly unveils the source of the awkwardness. "Emily, your mother-in-law is such a great cook, isn't she?" "Excuse me?" I respond, taken aback. Unfazed, Sophie continues, "Did Olivia make this entire Christmas feast? That's amazing." Huh? I haven't cooked a full-course Christmas meal in ages. I was going to leave it to my daughter-in-law, but she's absolutely terrible in the kitchen and she never comes by. Even when I offer to teach her, my mother-in-law chimes in, completely disregarding the truth. I'm left dumbfounded by her audacious claims. "Oh, Emily, you should really take after Olivia while she's still well. Jake might miss the taste of home sometimes, you know? The way to a man's heart is through his stomach," she adds, seemingly offering advice but actually delivering a veiled insult. Daniel, a relative nearby, laughs, adding to my discomfort. "You know, Olivia, that pork belly stew you made last time was delicious. It's amazing you can cook both Western and Japanese dishes." "It's not that big of a deal, but I'm glad you enjoyed it," my mother-in-law replies with false modesty, knowing full well that the pork belly stew was my creation. As I stand there, stunned, she silently mouths, "Go along with it." It becomes apparent that she's been claiming credit for all my dishes, including the Christmas feast, and sharing them with the family. Now she wants me to go along with her lie. No way! Especially after all the times she criticized my cooking. Even though I want to speak up, I feel overwhelmed by the crowd and can't find my voice. But then my son comes to the rescue. "Mom, this omelet is really tasty. It looks different than usual, but your omelets are always good." His young voice cuts through the noise, silencing the adults. "Oh, Mike, this is actually quiche your grandmother made." Sophia tries to cover for him, probably out of kindness, but my son is adamant. "Huh? But it's tasty, so it's got to be Mom's omelet." "Grandma's omelet is super sweet and gritty. It doesn't taste good," he insists passionately, waving his hands around, leaving the adults looking puzzled. Of course, my mother-in-law panics. "Emily, don't teach the child to lie." "Excuse me? Who's the one lying here, Mom? Am I a liar?" Mike looks up at me, his face full of uncertainty. That's when I felt my anger rising. I felt silly. I didn't care what people thought of my mother-in-law or Jake. I tolerated her because she's Jake's mom and Mike's grandma, but turning my grandson into a liar just to save face? That's not right. If she's going to make my child lie, I'll stand up for what's right, even if it means being seen as the bad guy. I took a deep breath and stood tall. "Mike isn't a liar. You're the one lying, Grandma." "Huh." She looks surprised. She probably didn't expect me to confront her. I stood up and pointed dramatically at the table. I made this entire Christmas meal, including the corn soup, from start to finish. What? The room erupted in shock. My flustered mother-in-law began to panic and shout, Wait, Emily, you're lying. Are you out of your mind? I'm not lying, Sophia. You said you got the pork belly stew from Grandma, right? I turned to Sophia, who looked surprised. Ah, yes, it was delicious, Sophia admitted. I made that too, I revealed. Ha! Sophia looked bewildered. You're terrible taking credit for Jake's mom's cooking and trying to frame her. You're the worst daughter-in-law. Then can you tell me the recipe for the pork belly stew, mother-in-law? I challenged. What? Well, she hesitated, then suddenly exclaimed, It's a secret. It's a secret family recipe, so I can't tell you in public. You don't have to give details or measurements, just the basics, I insisted. Even the relatives who were disgusted by our petty fight started to see who was in the right. Emily, that's enough. My husband Jake intervened. He had apparently finished putting our daughter to sleep and silently appeared near the door, restraining me with a stern voice and face. My mother-in-law clung to Jake as if he was her ally, looking like a tragic heroine. Jake, what's up with your daughter-in-law? She's calling me a liar. That's awful, Mom. You're the awful one here. What? Mother-in-law's mouth dropped open. This entire Christmas feast? Emily made it all? Yes, she did, while taking care of the kids. Trying to take credit for it is pretty low, Jake, I affirmed. Sophia, the only thing Mom made is that massive bowl of creamy stew over there. Have you tried it? Jake pointed out. Huh? Yeah, Sophia responded, visibly shaken. Yeah, it was insanely sweet, wasn't it? Mom thinks if it's sweet, it's tasty. She's always been so cautious about salt and oil, but uses sugar with no limits, so all of her dishes taste like a block of sugar, Jake explained. Is that so? The pork belly stew was probably made by my daughter-in-law too. If you got any other dishes from Mom recently, they were likely made by Emily, Jake continued. Really? Even that meatloaf? Sophia asked. That was me. And the mapo tofu and shrimp gratin. That was me, I confirmed. Everyone in the family was disillusioned with mother-in-law because of her own son's revelation. Isn't that right, Mom? Jake challenged. Mother-in-law, exposed for all her lies, started panicking. It seemed like she had given up on lying and was now trying to appeal to Jake's emotions. Why? Why were you siding with your daughter-in-law? I'm your mom, she pleaded. I didn't want to have to say this either, Mom, Jake responded solemnly. I thought you were just lonely because Dad isn't here, so I've been having Emily put up with you. But this isn't anything but harassment towards her. There's no reason to protect you anymore. Don't see Emily or the kids ever again, Jake firmly tells his mother, dismissing her pleas. He starts cleaning up the Christmas feast and then apologizes to the relatives. I'm sorry for the disturbance this Christmas, Emily. Mike, let's go, Jake says as he takes Mike's hand and stands up. Mike looks at his grandmother and asks, Grandma, where's your I'm sorry? Huh? When you lie, you say I'm sorry, then you get forgiven, right? Isn't that right, Mom? Mike questions. Huh? His grandmother stammers, unable to respond. I get it. You have to be forgiving when it comes to raising kids, but a simple sorry isn't going to cut it, Jake remarks. Seeing his mother's reluctance to apologize, he sighs in resignation. Grandma can't even say I'm sorry, and she's supposed to be an adult. How sad. Let's go home and have Mom's delicious Christmas feast, okay? Jake suggests to Mike. Oh, we left behind a growling mother-in-law and confused relatives, carrying our sleeping daughter and the Christmas feast as we left Mike's house. We went straight to my parents' place and served the Christmas feast. Everyone was delighted and ate with joy. This is what I had been striving for, so my heart was full. Jake, of course, apologized profusely and promised never to let us meet mother-in-law again. The atmosphere at my house stayed uncomfortable. The relatives left, leaving only my mother-in-law and some bland food. The next day, my mother-in-law's sister, her husband, and Jake's sister visited as promised. When they saw the bland food, they laughed and said, "We expected as much." It seems my mother-in-law's lack of cooking skills was well known among her relatives. "So you boasted about hosting a Christmas feast? I wondered what trick you'd pull," they teased. "Maybe you're just jealous of Emily, who's good at cooking and praised by Jake and Mike. Sorry for the inconvenience," they added. After hearing the details from Jake, my sister-in-law thanked me for my efforts. "I'm sorry for jumping to conclusions. Turns out Sophia also enjoys cooking, and we bonded over a recipe for braised pork belly," she said. The misunderstanding with Jake was cleared up, and I found new friends who share my cooking hobby. I felt refreshed, enjoying a carefree Christmas. Of course, my mother-in-law wasn't going to give up easily, but I was prepared. As I was making cornbread, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. She was furious on the other end of the line. "Excuse me, where are you? It's dinner time. Do your duty as a wife. Are you making the same mistake and coming over again?" she scolded. "No thanks," I replied. "What? You'll be the one left out by the family," she warned. "That won't be a problem. Actually, it was you who got shunned by the relatives. I've even made plans to cook with Sophia next time," I informed her. What? Mother-in-law probably never imagined that I'd become close to father-in-law's side of the family. I informed my mother-in-law that I wouldn't be returning to her house. Instead, my kids and I have been staying at my parents' house since Christmas. We're planning to find a new place to live now that the holidays are over. Despite my mother-in-law's insistence on living near her, Jake's workplace is closer to my parents' house. Since my mother-in-law couldn't heed Jake's warning to stay away from me, we've decided to physically distance ourselves. Right now, Jake is the only one living at his parents' house, and he'll leave once he's ready. When my mother-in-law demanded to know where we were, I simply responded that she couldn't get away with not cherishing Jake's mom. However, I reminded her that both Jake and his sister had forgiven her, so it was okay. With that, I thanked her for everything and said goodbye before hanging up and blocking her number to ensure I never had to hear her voice again. 2 years later, my family eagerly waits for my cooking in the living room, playing around as I fry burgers in the kitchen. It warms my heart to see them eagerly awaiting my cooking with smiles on their faces.
Leave, you useless old ladies who can't even clean properly. My husband and I, who were living with our eldest son and his wife, were giving $3,000 to help with expenses every month. But his wife would often insult us with hurtful words and make life difficult for us. We were fed up and angry. We didn't want anything to do with her anymore and decided to get back at her someday. My name is Susie. I'm 62 years old and work part-time while also taking care of our home. I live with my husband David, who is the same age as me. David works in an office and is a kind and serious man, so we have a stable income and rarely argue. Our son, Lawrence, is 32 years old. He's just like his dad, kind-hearted and responsible. After finishing university, he got a job at a private company and is working hard. 2 years ago, he married a woman named Emily, whom he met at work. However, it turned out that Emily was actually a very mean person. When we first met her, she appeared to be serious and nice. Lawrence assured us that she was hardworking at her job and had a good relationship with her bosses. Emily is 6 years younger than Lawrence, and although we weren't sure if they would get along, we trusted Lawrence's judgment. After they got married, Lawrence and Emily moved into their own apartment. Emily promised to take care of all the household chores so Lawrence could focus on his work. Lawrence seemed appreciative of her help. He often said, "Thanks to Emily taking care of everything at home, I can concentrate on my job." I'm grateful. My husband and I believed that our son had chosen a good wife. But Emily's true nature began to emerge gradually. We had a family gathering for New Year's, and when I saw Emily, I didn't even recognize her at first. She looked completely different. The last time I saw her, she had black hair and wore minimal makeup, appearing reserved. But now, she had transformed into a bold woman with pink hair, wearing loud bracelets on her wrists. She seemed like a whole different person. My husband, David, and the rest of our family were surprised by Emily's drastic change. Lawrence tried to smooth things over. "I'm sorry if this caught you off guard." I was also surprised when I came home from work one day to find Emily like this. But she manages the household well, and we don't have any problems. Plus, Emily is a full-time homemaker. Can we overlook this? After hearing Lawrence's explanation, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Well, if Lawrence is fine with it, then so am I. I was just taken aback by how different Emily looks now. It's not fair to judge someone solely based on appearances, and it's not my place to complain. My family seemed to agree with my sentiment. Later, we all had a good time drinking together until Emily caused a scene. She got extremely drunk and started hurling insults at everyone around her. You dare to defy me? I once took down 3 classmates at once back in middle school. It became evident that she had a tendency to become aggressive when intoxicated. She even directed hurtful words at me and David, yelling, "Stop clinging onto life needlessly, you old pests. Nobody is pleased that you're still alive." Her words cut deep. There's a limit to what's acceptable, even under the influence of alcohol. David looked furious, and Lawrence was visibly shocked. Hey, even for a drunken conversation, you've crossed the line. Apologize. However, Emily didn't even listen to Lawrence. You dump all the chores on me, then have the guts to lecture me, a weakling like you. I could take you down in a heartbeat. Emily kept on with her verbal assault, causing chaos and trouble for everyone around. Eventually, she passed out from the alcohol and the tension eased, but the mood remained sour. Everyone was furious with Emily. Then one of the relatives brought up Emily's earlier claim about defeating classmates. Was she a troublemaker in the past? They asked. No, Lawrence replied. Emily graduated from a public university. I always thought she was a serious person. But the relative remained doubtful. Do we have any proof she's been on the straight and narrow? Maybe we should dig into Emily's past to see what kind of person she really is. I agreed with the idea. It might be worth looking into, I said. Lawrence promised to investigate further. Since Emily had no living parents and few ties to her relatives, he decided to hire a private investigator. The investigation uncovered that Emily had been quite rebellious during her middle school years and even led a group of troublemakers. She was so infamous that even the local troublemakers followed her lead since she was in 9th grade. Concerned about her future, Emily started to put on a more serious facade. Despite graduating from a public university, she remained connected with her rowdy group of friends. Even now, when Lawrence was at work, Emily would invite these troublesome friends over, causing disturbances that annoyed the neighbors. It became clear that Emily was hiding her true nature. She was indeed a troublemaker. Frustrated by this behavior, Lawrence brought up the idea of divorce. However, Emily reacted with tears and pleading. I'm sorry. I'll change and be more serious. Please forgive me. I need you, Lawrence. Please don't leave me. She even reverted to her old appearance and deleted her friends' contacts from her phone right in front of Lawrence. She apologized to the relatives she had upset during the New Year's gathering and repeatedly called me to apologize. Seeing her efforts, Lawrence began to reconsider his decision. As a result, Lawrence and Emily decided not to divorce and opted to continue their married life. Since Lawrence was the one married to Emily, my husband, and I felt it wasn't our place to interfere too much. So we respected Lawrence's decision. When I saw Emily again at the family summer gathering, she seemed to have become a more serious person, and I hoped things would be fine from then on. However, one day while I was at my part-time job, I strained my back while lifting a heavy object. The pain was so severe that I couldn't move. My colleagues rushed me to the hospital, where I was diagnosed with a significant back strain and advised to rest. When I called Lawrence to tell him about it, he suggested something unexpected. Why don't you come and live with us? Both Emily and I, along with Dad, could take care of you. At your age, incidents like these might happen more often, and it would be better if we were there to help. As I pondered the idea, it seemed like a sensible solution. Once my back pain had subsided, my husband, Lawrence, Emily, and I sat down and discussed the idea of living together. We all agreed it made sense, especially considering our spacious single-family home. With no space issues, Lawrence and Emily moved in with us, and we began our shared living arrangement. Initially, everything went smoothly. Emily took on half of the household chores, which lightened my load significantly. My husband and I contributed financially, providing around $3,000 each month to cover expenses. Although my part-time job limited my financial contribution, I wanted to ease the financial strain on Lawrence and Emily as much as possible. However, Emily's behavior started to change gradually. She began claiming she wasn't feeling well and started pushing more of the household responsibilities onto me. Initially, I believed her and took on the extra chores, but I soon noticed inconsistencies. She appeared perfectly healthy, eating hearty meals and even going out for leisure activities all day. Feeling perplexed, I confronted Emily gently, expressing my concerns. I hate to question this, but are you truly unwell? You seem energetic and spend a lot of time outside. Emily's response was a fierce glare. Why are you doubting me? She snapped. If you keep this up, I'll give you a piece of my mind. I was taken aback by her coarse language. It was evident she felt no remorse. She was likely only pretending to change to avoid losing Lawrence. Emily, sensing my shock, scoffed, "Are you scared, Aria?" "Well, get used to it. I've played the quiet girl for too long. It's time for me to be myself." "You're aware of the consequences if you continue, right, Emily?" It seemed Emily had used intimidation tactics before, perhaps during her school days. This behavior had carried over into adulthood, where she could manipulate others to get her way. While I couldn't deny feeling afraid of Emily, I hadn't lived 62 years to be pushed around. Holding my ground, I warned her sternly, "If your behavior crosses the line, it could be considered a crime, you know? I'm not here to obey your orders like a robot. If you push too far, I won't hesitate to involve the authorities." Emily appeared surprised by my unexpected response, but she quickly fired back, "Shut up, old woman. I'll never forgive you." Her outburst startled David and Lawrence, who rushed to see what was happening. They were both home since it was their day off. After briefly explaining the situation, David and Lawrence frowned. It was decided that the four of us would discuss the matter. "Diva." David addressed Emily firmly. "Firstly, apologize to Susie." However, Emily refused to apologize. Instead, she crossed her arms defiantly. "Why should I apologize to an old woman? I thought Susie would handle the household chores, so I agreed to live together. But my workload hasn't decreased as I expected. It's only gotten worse." Emily's next words were even more shocking. "No matter what anyone says, I won't change. From now on, you'll all do as I say. Oh, but Susie and David are useless. You two old hags can leave since you don't even contribute to the household chores." Her words ignited a fire within me. I've had it with this woman. I resolved firmly to seek revenge. My usually calm husband seemed equally furious, his face flushed with anger. "Should we leave now feeling the same?" he asked. "Or should I distance myself from Emily immediately?" I nodded in agreement, saying, "Yes, let's go." My husband and I swiftly packed our belongings and left without delay. Although we said we were moving out, we couldn't take large items like dressers, so we planned to return for them later. Lawrence mentioned he still needed to talk to Emily, so he chose to stay behind. My husband and I headed to a budget hotel for the time being. We didn't own another house, and we didn't want to burden our friends, so we opted to stay there until we found a new place. The next morning, Emily began bombarding my cell phone with calls starting at 8 a.m. Initially, I considered ignoring them, but her persistence was relentless, with 20 calls in just 1 hour. Though I regretted not blocking her number sooner, I felt a twinge of curiosity about her intentions, prompting me to answer once. "Hello, is this Susie?" Emily's voice sounded unnaturally sweet on the other end. Instantly, I sensed mischief brewing, and frankly, it gave me the creeps. From her serious demeanor to her sudden shift to a cutesy persona, I couldn't help but wonder how many faces Emily could wear. Regardless, one thing was clear. I couldn't trust her, no matter which version showed up. Realizing the futility of continuing the conversation, I simply replied, "No, thank you," and promptly ended the call. I blocked her number and barred her from all messaging apps to prevent further contact. My husband, observing my actions, followed suit. As a united front, we decided to cut off all communication from Emily indefinitely. Later in the afternoon, Lawrence called me. "Mom, I've divorced Emily. I left the house early this morning and just submitted the divorce papers." He explained that when he had informed Emily of his decision the previous night, her response had been dismissive. "Try if you can." With no hesitation, Lawrence proceeded with the divorce. Upon hearing this news, I couldn't help but feel relieved. Staying with someone like Emily would never lead to happiness. I shared with Lawrence that Emily had called earlier, acting strangely cutesy. Lawrence's expression soured at the mention of Emily's behavior. Back when Emily was rebellious, she would resort to acting cute to smooth things over with her boyfriend whenever things got awkward. She's incredibly naive if she thinks that tactic will work now that we're all adults. His sentiment resonated with me completely. Emily's been cheating too. What, really? I was genuinely taken aback. The thought that she would add infidelity to her already despicable behavior was beyond belief. Her claims of illness seemed increasingly dubious to me. She appeared perfectly healthy and went out far too often. Suspecting there was more to her story, I decided to hire a private investigator. The results were shocking. Emily had been cheating with an unknown man. Lawrence even provided photographic evidence showing Emily kissing a young man in public, his green hair making him stand out. I warned Emily that I'd pursue legal action against her, and I fully intend to. I'll also seek damages from her affair partner, Lawrence informed me. As I examined the photos he sent to my phone, Emily's nonchalant attitude in response to the accusations puzzled me. Then why did she call me? I pondered aloud. Who knows? Maybe she wanted to know where I was after I moved out. Emily never expected me to leave. She thought if she acted tough and intimidating, I'd stay, Lawrence surmised. But now that I'm gone for real, I think she panicked and tried to win me back. I sighed deeply. Regardless of her motives, I had no desire to aid someone like her. I hoped she would experience the full weight of loneliness on her own. After some time, my husband, Lawrence, and I managed to secure a new apartment where we could all live together. Initially, we contemplated evicting Emily from our old house and returning there. But considering its size and potential vacancy in the future, we deemed it more practical to sell it off. Lawrence agreed, expressing his willingness to part with the property. Living there isn't a necessity for me. Selling it sounds like the best option, he remarked. As for Emily losing her place, it was of little concern to us. With the help of relatives, we returned to the old house to retrieve our belongings. To our dismay, Emily greeted us with a smug grin, suggesting that we resume living together. I realized I can't bear loneliness. Wouldn't it be better for us all to live together again? Plus, I want to save money and avoid paying Lawrence any alimony, she proposed audaciously. Her bold request ignited my simmering anger. If you're going to make a request, at least do so humbly. This isn't a matter for jest. No matter how you plead, I won't entertain it, I snapped. David, my husband, interjected with a cold tone. We're selling this house, so leave promptly and fulfill your obligations to Lawrence. I could never forgive you. Stop attempting to reignite our relationship. Lawrence echoed his sentiments firmly. Emily's flirtatious facade crumbled at his words. Lawrence has a stable income, so I initially thought marrying him would allow me to relax and become a housewife. But now, there's no ulterior motive. I truly love Lawrence. And of course, I need both of you, Susie and David, Emily insisted. However, her words did little to quell the seething anger within us. Mine, David's, and Lawrence's, only serving to stoke the flames further. In that tense moment, a previously silent relative, who had been observing the situation, couldn't remain silent any longer. They interrupted Emily with a firm voice. Emily, you are a despicable woman. If you have so much to say, why don't we settle this with a fair fight? You seem confident about your strength. With a hint of intimidation, the relative revealed their physical prowess, reminding Emily that they had competed in a national karate competition. This relative in their 30s was well known for their strength, and we had called them in case Emily decided to cause trouble. Sensing the imminent threat, Emily recoiled. No, I don't want to fight. Once you leave, don't ever bother Susie and the rest again. Leave quickly, but before you do, offer a proper apology, the relative warned in a low voice, exuding an intimidating presence. Emily, subdued by the imposing atmosphere, acquiesced with a whimper. Emily's sudden change in demeanor caught us off guard as she swiftly replied, Yes, I understand. I'll leave immediately. I'll leave all my large belongings here. I'm truly sorry, she groveled. Good riddance. Packing her belongings and departing, the relative smirked. It was evident that Emily's tough facade crumbled in the face of those she perceived as stronger. As David, Lawrence, and I watched her retreat, we couldn't help but burst into laughter. With the nuisance finally gone, our moving preparations proceeded seamlessly, and we successfully relocated to our new home without any trouble. Following her departure, Emily rented an apartment and began living alone. True to Lawrence's warning, he filed for alimony, which Emily and her lover promptly paid, likely due to the involvement of a lawyer. It appeared that Emily couldn't stand up to someone with greater power, as my relative had predicted. Since then, I've kept my distance from Emily, but I've heard about her activities through various sources. News reports and conversations with acquaintances have painted a picture of Emily's life following her departure. Initially, Emily depleted most of her savings to fulfill her alimony obligations. With plans to marry her former affair partner and rely on his income, she was left in the lurch when he severed all ties. Desperate for stability, she attempted a job at a private company only to quit abruptly after clashing with her boss. In a shameless bid for financial support, she approached me, my husband, and Lawrence at our workplaces, but we steadfastly ignored her pleas, causing her to eventually give up. Facing mounting debt and rejection from her former associates, Emily's desperation led her to assault one of her gang members in a fit of rage, resulting in her arrest and subsequent imprisonment. My husband, Lawrence, and I couldn't help but feel that she had reaped what she sowed. Emily had a history of troublemaking, never showing any remorse for her actions. It seemed only fitting that she face the consequences of her behavior behind bars, where she could hopefully reflect on her choices. In stark contrast, my husband, Lawrence, and I were enjoying peaceful, contented lives. The three of us lived harmoniously together, and we even had plans for a trip on our next extended weekend. Our apartment offered the convenience of easy cleaning and proximity to the station, making it a wise choice for our new home. We were determined to continue cherishing our tranquil existence as a family of three.